So back to the 1984 Royal Coachman 8x32-foot camper. We did get the passenger side skin all taken down. She's got some rot from where the roof leaked down into the wall. That section there is pretty bad. That's pretty disgusting. But for the most part, it looks like the wall's actually in pretty good shape, minus this front part here. The front and the back, we're thinking about just unscrewing these, taking these down as one whole unit, and leaving those until last. So a little bit of the change that we're looking at making, I got some bracing across the doorway, so when we lift the wall off, it doesn't shift around and fall apart on us. But one of the things we're talking about changing is what we discovered, where there's a double 1x2 underneath the top plate. There's one there, and then there's one back here. Those are where the seams are. If you look real close in there, you can actually see the seam of right where the 2x2 comes in and stops, and then it rests on top of that. So what our plan now is, instead of trying to build a whole new wall over this, we're just going to take out that 2x2 all the way down, take all this rotted stuff out, and just replace it before we even take the wall down. And then this seam here, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there's a seam right there. We're gonna take this section here out. And then we're just gonna replace that top section. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Instead of trying to build all new walls, one, it'll probably save a few $100s worth of lumber. Actually, when I added up all the stud work, I think we was approaching probably about $800 just for all the 1x2s and 2x2s. This way here, you spend, $50-$60, replace what you can, put it back together, then take the walls off. I think that's the way to do it. There's not really a lot of damage to the wall itself, which is why I am definitely considering keeping them. Obviously, this here's all gonna come off. But like I said, the fronts and the back, we're gonna take these down in the whole unit as one unit. Take these off to set them off. And then when we get the sidewalls up and get all the interior walls back in, we'll come back and we'll work on these, get these here all rebuilt, reskinned, and get those set up in place. Those are pretty rotted. The back one isn't so bad, but the front one is pretty rotted. The downside to that is we don't know if we start taking it apart, we don't know that we'll be able to get it built before it just falls apart on us. At least this way, we got the Luan paneling, and then we got the skin, and then we got the window to keep both ends rigid. So when we take the whole unit off, it shouldn't weigh probably more, gosh, I bet there probably isn't probably 100, 150 pounds sitting here. So when we take them off, just lean them up against the wall here in the shed. Those will be the last thing to be built, because obviously we don't really need the walls on until I go to do the back. The back bed I need to have in place, plus I need to have the wall in place so I know where to put the bed, how far back to go. So yeah, with that, that's the update of where we're going. We're gonna do the same thing here. There's a splice right here. I'm gonna take this 1x2 here out all the way down to above the bathroom window. I'm gonna take that one out, replace that one, replace this one. We're gonna replace all this stuff, all the headers, the 2x2 headers, the main 1x1 that's coming all the way down. it just makes it easier and a whole lot cheaper. Um, I do have the aluminum skin off the roof. Can't see up there, so I do have the aluminum skin off the roof. All the trusses are exposed, and all they did, it looks like they just took like a 2x6 and they cut the ends down where it meets the wall up here for the roof truss. And they just cut them down a little bit of an angle so it wasn't such a sharp edge coming over. And then it's just 2x6s that go across, but they're flat, so it's a flat roof camper. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're up to. Now, I understand that most people will be like, well, you should just take it and just destroy it and start over. You're rebuilding it anyways. Well, you're right. The problem is when you come across stuff like this and you got a good wall, why not reuse it? So if I destroy it, which, you know, in destroying it, you could have it completely down, you know, within 2 days. This way here, we can fix what we need, then take it off, and then just keep going. So it does take a little bit extra time, which really isn't that big of a deal. Today, I'm gonna be working on that counter there's coming out, stove, refrigerator, the little pantry back there. Then I wanna get started on this bathroom wall all the way around so I can expose these studs, the wall studs inside here, so I can get them unscrewed from this stud so we can get ready to start taking these here off. So there's a whole bunch of different ways of going about doing this. But if we can keep it, we're gonna try. Well, nothing in here is gonna be kept. This here is just disgusting. All the Luan paneling is getting all replaced. This stuff here is all garbage. The only reason why I want to try to somewhat keep this, it's not going back in. A new one's going to be made. But the only reason why I want to try to keep this is so I have a blueprint of what they actually had in here so I can somewhat build it back. Build it back better? Well, build it back to the way they had it so I can see how they had it mounted to the floor, to the wall, what made it rigid. That's really the only reason why I'm keeping this. Other than that, once I get mine built, this is going to the burn pile. That'll be going to scrap. Keeping the pantry back there because I need to see how they built that. The walls here, the 3 walls that make up the bathroom, we're keeping that only to the point of when I get mine built. Once mine gets built, this is all going up to the burn pile. It's all garbage. Nothing in here is being kept at all. So, yeah, it takes a little bit of extra time. Anybody can just go destroy something, but if you're trying to build something back, you need something to go from that they did. Now, this down here, the underbelly, I can't really just rip this off because if I rip this off, I don't even know how they have this on here. I have an idea. But other than that, if I get into something and can't figure it out and how to put it back, then why would I just rip it off? So this here's the underbelly. It's framed in, attached to the bottom of the floor. This here's metal to the bottom of the floor. I'm assuming this here must be like a 2x6 or whatever they got in here. 2x8, whatever. Then I'm assuming that they have dense insulation in between them for the floor work. I'm assuming that's what they have. I don't know what they have because we haven't gotten down there yet. But yeah, the heater down here needs to come out. The battery box needs to come out. Battery doesn't work, so. But the box will be going back in, the battery box. And that's only so like at nighttime, because where we're going for camping, this should be ran off a generator. And we will have a new power inverter going back in for DC and AC. So the reason why we need the battery box is because in the middle of the night, if you happen to wake up and you need to go outside for whatever, go to the bathroom, whatever, you still need to be able to turn a light on. You can't run around outside, try to start a generator, turn a light on. That, you know, come on. So this is where we're at. The scrapping, I'm thinking about just untaching them from the wall, bringing them down here to about where the floor is, just bending them down out of the way. I think why they put these on is for construction. I think what they do when they lift this whole wall section up into place, I think they start running screws in. With that, I think they put these on. So as they're moving stuff around inside, mounting it to the walls, to the floor, to the ceiling, they're not kicking these out of alignment. These are just somewhat keeping it in place. I believe that's what they're for. They're just really, really thin aluminum. So there's no rigidity there. It can't have nothing to do with, holding the camper together. So that's the only thing I could come up with is why those would even be on there. And there's probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them down each side. And I think that's what it's for. Like I said, once they get the wall put onto the floor, they run in a couple screws while they're inside putting the counters and the cabinets and everything in and screwing it in, banging it around. I think these here keep it from shifting out of place. I think that's all they're for. I hope. But they'll probably go back on, because if that's what they use them for, that's going to help me a lot. And like I said, if you can figure out what they did, it just makes it a little bit easier. This floor up here is totally rotted. So this 1x2 down here at the bottom of the wall, this whole section, all the way up to the door, this whole bottom section, we're going to take that out. But we're not going to do that until we get the wall off. What we're worried about right now is getting that taken care of and getting this one up here taken care of. That's just so we can get the wall itself off without collapsing or folding up on us, because there's no rigidity up there anymore. I think just the sheer weight and length of this thing is just going to make it collapse if we don't replace those. But over time, before the walls get put back on, these 1x2s down here do need to get replaced. It's just rotted. They're not even doing nothing down there. And it's not as bad as it looks. I'm not going to touch it, but that and that, this here doesn't look that bad. It's right about there. But this here is just an 8-foot section. We'll just, once we get the wall off, we'll suspend it up in the air and we'll just knock that out because they're just stapled on. And then we'll just cut another one, just put another one back in its place. There's a few of them around here that's kind of sort of like that. That's kind of bad. This one down here where all the water damage happened. This one down here needs to be replaced, obviously. But again, that won't happen until we get the wall itself off and get ready to put it back on. Then we'll come through, we'll knock this off, put a new one on. This here will be all new construction right here, up above. And then I don't know how much is actually bad on here until we actually start lifting it. But I'm hoping just 4 people, because of the length. I'm not so worried about the weight, but the length of it, I'm really hoping 4 people is enough to kind of stabilize it, just bring it off, set it down to the side, just leaned up, get it back out of the way so we can get in here and work. And then once these are off, so we'll probably take the ends off, then we'll probably take the 2 side walls off, and then we'll move inside, and then all the walls and everything else will just come out as a big unit. I think that's the way to go about doing all this. All this wiring is going to get all cut and just be gone with, because that's all garbage. I was going to see if I could save it, but there's a lot of wear spots from where the siding actually rubbed up against it. See if I can find a section. But you can actually see where it wore through. Like there's a section right here. This here was actually right up against the siding. So I'm assuming when they ran it down the road, this here would bounce. So then there's a section over here. This wire this one right here, it goes up into the roof, crosses over. Actually, both of these go up into the roof. Those 2 are wore open. This 12-volt one that goes up into the roof line, down there is also wore open. So that means that the roof was up there bouncing around, rubbing, and it rubbed against the rubber on the wiring, wore it off. So, yeah. Here's something that's kind of cool. This here is a 12-volt, like a cigarette lighter. I've never seen that before inside of a camper. see if I can get a video of it. And I believe what those are for, back in the day, well, 84, they had like a traveling electric razors for men. And I believe it was mostly for like salesmen, you know, jumping around from company to company in their car, plugged a razor into the cigarette lighter down in their ashtray, and then they would shave. And then they'd go on to do their sales meeting, whatever, the sales pitch, and then move on. So I've never seen that inside of a camper before, but I thought that was pretty cool. But that's not going back in. We're not doing nothing with that. This here's the standard 12-volt stuff. It's all corroded, it's nasty. So I just thought it was kind of cool. So that's all we have for now.